iHeart radio station.
It's time, man. The stage is set.
Welcome.
Welcome home, baby. I like this kind of party.
Putting the fun in dysfunctional.
Yeah!
Each and every weekday morning, the Pat and Aaron Show.
Is it a little too early for being that loud?
Good morning, Tampa Bay.
And here we go.
Now your hosts, Pat Donovan and Aaron Jacobson.
Good morning, goons. Welcome to the Pat and Aaron Show, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620, coming to you live on a Tuesday morning. Aaron Jacobson, and you know what that means.
I do.
Guess what day it is?
Taco Tuesday!
Usually that Jack and Aaron are talking about like Game of Thrones or Taco Tuesday, and you can't listen to them.
Let me give you some advice, bastard. Never forget what you are. The rest of the world will not. Wear it like armor.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
It is a Game of Thrones in Taco Tuesday. I'm Pat Donovan with lumberjack Aaron Jacobson and a man floating on a 9-sack performance from his Los Angeles Rams, as well as half a handle of Jim Beam, Casey Warner, this morning.
Not quite half a handle, maybe just a few swigs, but man, that would have been even rougher this morning.
Well, hold on. Aaron Jacobson, you know Casey Warner. In your opinion, when he says a few swigs, Aaron.
You see this cup I'm holding right here, this Kawa cup? It's a standard cup.
Is that a swig?
I think he probably a full one of these. Full to the brim.
Just me, maybe half of that, but like if you're talking about the ones that my roommate partake with me, then yeah.
Yeah, he's a monster.
That's your
He's a
reaction, is
monster.
that's not bad?
That's not that bad now. No,
I'm a little
for a
tired
night,
today.
he's having a night. His team was playing.
I'm a little tired, but I'm by no means hungover. So no, it wasn't a hard night.
May I ask you something, young Casey Warner?
Let's hear it.
What's it like to watch your team's defense actually attack a quarterback and finish the job?
It was beautiful, man. Shout out to the Florida State Seminoles, Braden Fisk, Jared Verse.
Seriously. I mean, young defense looks good. And, I mean, it just goes to show you if you can get after the quarterback and get his ass to the ground, you can win a lot of football games because you're going to turn the quarterback over a lot.
This is the story as old as as time. Like, we've heard this story forever. We've seen this from so many good teams over the years, and that's why I came into this season questioning why they didn't do more at outside linebacker, and that's even thinking they'd have Randy Gregory, because I had zero expectations for Randy Gregory this season.
And you were right to have the zero.
I did have some expectations, or at least some hopes, that we'd get a hell of a lot more than we did out of Chris Braswell. But overall...
But everyone, Yaya Diaby, the expectations for him coming in and being able to have impacts in different ways. But
Yaya's sacks were down a little bit, but I don't think he played poorly.
No.
And I also think it's like we talked about yesterday. It's very easy to key on him as an offense when you're talking about pass protection when there's no help on the other side.
And that's why I said he was impactful in different ways and made his mark on the football field. But then you have the same old song and dance with Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. And
who?
Yeah, that's what we'll be saying. That will be the conversation, and you gotta attack it. That's going to be when you see what the Rams did with young guys. You saw Jared Verse return a fumble all the way to the house, change the game, change the entire momentum of the game. That's what happens when you can get after a quarterback and turn the football over and turn it into points.
As we get, postseason isn't even here, or I shouldn't say the postseason. The offseason isn't even here yet, but as we get into the offseason and closer to the draft, we'll start having on folks like our friend Charlie Campbell. But you listen to the draft heads, the people that really follow this stuff, and they're saying certainly there's a lot of pass rushers in this upcoming draft. So the Buccaneers, they're going to draft, it looks like, a little higher than they did a season ago when they took Graham Barton, and obviously a class of rookies that made this a very successful season. And hopefully he'll be able to do it again, Jason Light, because, again, he'll draft a little earlier in this draft. And with as many pass rushers as there are, you would think in the first round that's probably the angle, unless there's a big free agent move ahead of the draft.
Yeah, and that's why, you think about rookies and how important the draft is. I mean, we just talked about some rookies that had an impact in the game last night. We go back to the third and inches, where a rookie in Graham Barton messes up the snap count, and you end up getting pushed back behind the line, and you have to settle for 3, and you lose, and you lose the season.
I'm still not certain he messed up the snap count as much, because even Baker Mayfield doesn't necessarily believe that. Baker Mayfield thinks because if you snap the ball while they're in the neutral zone, that's an offsides.
Offsides, yeah, and it looked offsides too.
I think it was. I thought it was in the press box in the moment. I was shocked that nothing happened. Even people around me, people are like, "Wait, there's no flag." It looked pretty obvious in the moment that they were offsides. But Baker talked about it after the game, and he said that he thought that Graham may have snapped the ball because he thought that they were offsides. They were in the neutral zone, and if they were, it should have been a first down.
It should have been, but either way, you'll learn from that regardless. I mean, you if that's the case, you can't take that chance. But I think that you look at the league now, and we've always seen this, but especially lately, of the impact that rookies can have early on and can have in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Daniels.
You better be ready to execute if it happens. If you're gonna snap the ball, you better be ready to execute as well, and not look like they did on the play.
That's true.
All right, so obviously the season is over. A lot of the conversation, I even saw some yesterday after our show and around different places, is about Todd Bowles and whether or not people believe he should remain as the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A day after another job opened up, as we were all surprised to learn yesterday that Mike McCarthy, it sounded like my assumption, Aaron. What are you swearing?
No, because Jerry Jones is such a piece of work, man.
Well, he is odd. But my assumption was, and I think most people's probably were, when the Cowboys denied the Chicago Bears' request to interview Mike McCarthy, that was a pretty good sign that they were going to get it done, signed, sealed, delivered. He'd be continuing on as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. So for them to not be able to come to an agreement,
that's why he's a piece of
forward,
work. That's why Jared's a piece of work, man.
Well, I mean, who knows we don't know what Mike McCarthy was asking for.
But you think things changed that much in a couple days where Jerry blocked the interview? Like, you couldn't have had that conversation with Mike and not block that interview?
I mean, you don't necessarily know the way negotiations are going to go. You might expect that, who knows, maybe Jerry Jones was like, I still need to see more. I only want to give you another 1-year deal. But he thought that was something Mike McCarthy would be willing to take. So he said no to the Chicago Bears because he wanted to retain Mike McCarthy for another year to see if he could prove it with a more healthy team. And then McCarthy said, no, I'm a guy who's won a Super Bowl. If you want me to stick around, I need like another 2 or 3 year deal.
Sounds like a jerk move from Jerry. If you're not committed, you're not committed. Like, if you don't think the guy, you've seen what you need to see from Mike McCarthy. So it's either he's your guy, you want to lock him in for a couple of years, or he's not your guy.
But again, you don't know what he's asking for.
No, I don't. But under what you just laid out, 1 year, like a prove it deal.
But potentially.
Then you're not in. You're not all in if you're Jerry Jones. You've seen enough. The guy's been around forever. So if you believe in him, you extend him reasonably for 2, 3, 4 years.
I think when you look at his years in Dallas, you could very easily say that a 1-year deal would be fair.
Or do you just move on from him? I don't know. With Jerry, it just seems like it's always a little more.
You've got a locker room that's telling you at the end of the year, according to reports, that they want him around.
And then you got Deion Sanders, who's talking about building, or they're going to be putting his name in the mountains or whatever, a shrine for him in the mountains, whatever he described. He is now apparently meeting with Jerry Jones to talk about the head coaching job.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, he probably,
That's the craziest thing ever.
It's like I said about Liam Cohen when he said, it doesn't have to happen right now. It doesn't have to happen when I'm 39. He can very easily turn around and go, well, I didn't realize what I felt like was the perfect opportunity would come my way. And he can turn around and say, and it's the same thing for Deion Sanders. He can say, hey, I did want my name in the mountains. I never thought the Dallas Cowboys job would come available.
There was 3 weeks ago where he talked about putting his name on the mountains and putting his flag down in Colorado. That was 3 weeks ago.
He didn't know the Dallas Cowboys job was going to come open.
It was 3 weeks ago.
Listen, plausible deniability. It's all you need, dog.
He knew the Cowboys season was off the rails 3 weeks ago, so he knew that was a possibility that job could open up. And you're talking about putting your names in you want to put your name in the mountains in Colorado.
Maybe he talks to guys. Maybe he's talking to guys in the Cowboys locker room, and he's hearing that they're like, "Yo, we want this guy back. This is our guy."
Don't trust anybody. I don't trust anybody.
Okay.
Because they're all lying.
But what does that do? Like,
it does what it makes me a stronger person.
Does it?
I'm not going to get got no more. Because these guys are telling me one thing and they're doing another thing.
When have you got?
All the time.
You are so full of crap.
I get got all the time. I don't want to get got anymore. I'm done. Calling it.
You're the boy who cried they won't let me say Christmas. This has never happened in your life.
I'm the boy who cried got.
Yeah, you've never been got.
Listen.
Tell me when you got got.
I've grown stronger.
I need to know. The people watching right now.
I've grown stronger.
We're going to talk about Todd Bowles today, but we got plenty of time for that. The people listening want to know about the time Aaron got.
Remember when that guy called in and he talked about when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? I got.
Casey, do you know about when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor?
That definitely was not when I was here because I'm a bit of a history nerd and I would have been laughing pretty hard.
All right, he got. He got. You got.
You don't remember when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor?
The Germans didn't bomb Pearl Harbor.
That's exactly what I said.
So here's what happened, Casey Warner.
I guess it's like a domino effect.
Don't overthink it.
Let us explain it to you.
All right.
Let us explain it to you. Here's what happened. One day we were on the air back in the old building, and somebody texted in, did we give up, or whatever the exact quote was, but did we give up when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? And Aaron immediately was like, oh, God, I hope you're kidding. And basically started to call the person who texted in a moron. And I'm just sitting next to him smiling away because I knew exactly what was going on. Very famous movie quote from, Animal House? Yeah, Animal House. Where one of the main characters is hammered or whatever, and he said, "Did we give up when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor?" So it was a joke from Animal House.
Haven't seen that, so I gotta see that.
You know what happened?
That's a good one.
He got got.
He got. This is what happens. That was the first of getting got, and I've got plenty.
Now because of that, you won't get got by Deion Sanders.
I knew Deion
or Jerry Jones.
Deion was. This was going to happen. He's going to. Thank goodness they didn't start putting his name up in the mountains already. They would have been halfway through, and they would have had to quit.
You know what they said about Aaron Donald, Aaron? I mean,
what? What did they say about Aaron Donald?
Not the same thing they said about Sam Darnold. You know what they said about Sam Darnold?
I was going to say the Rams didn't need Aaron Donald.
They did not need Aaron Donald last night. Sam Darnold, he got got.
Yeah,
he got.
I think the Rams did a good job ending him, but the Lions broke him in Week 18.
What are the chances there's anything other than an update on the Rams' dominance last night on Monday Night Football in today's top headlines from Casey Warner?
on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Top headlines.
Time for today's top headlines, brought to you by KC Warner's Very Excited Dome. Mr. Warner, tell us all the top stories in the land, young man.
Yeah, we got quite a few, and we'll go ahead and put a cap on the NFL Super Wild Card weekend with last night's loss by the Minnesota Vikings.
It didn't feel super, man.
Yeah, it wasn't quite super. I mean, super for some fans, not so super for others, but not a lot of great games.
One good game. The Washington Bucks game was the only good game.
Literally one good game last night. It certainly was not even close.
What is this, the college football playoffs?
27.
Did you believe that laugh? I don't know if I believe that laugh.
I don't think I did.
You never know which one is real. 27-9 last night. Rams get it done, and 9 is a special number because that's how many sacks the Rams had. That ties an NFL playoff record. Very impressive. Jared Verse scored a touchdown, scoop and score. 2 sacks for Kobe Turner, another sack for Braden Fisk, and another sack for Byron Young.
9's also the number that the Vikings scored last week against the Lions, and the Lions broke Sam Darnold. I mean, he looked. Remember the Sam Darnold for the Jets that was seeing ghosts against the Patriots?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was him last night. That was him. Like the whole night, he looked like the deer in headlights. He just kept looking around. He's looking to the sideline for like someone to help him, and there was no help.
9 was the number of the night. I mean, if you score the same amount of points as you give up sacks, it's going to be a bad night. Either way, no matter how many points you score, it's going to be a bad night.
The Rams are built really well right now because, guys, strong run game, Kyron Williams. And then you add Puka Nacua, and Cooper Kupp's not even doing anything. I think he had 1 catch yesterday.
1 catch for 29.
Big play, but he's not even doing anything. And Higbee got hurt was tearing it up in the first quarter. 5 catches, and then he got hurt, and he was done for the game. So you have to hope, KC Warner and Rams fans, that Higbee's good to go for next week.
Yeah.
Tough matchup next week.
Yeah, no, it absolutely showed that he's an integral part of the offense, and he had 5 catches in that first quarter and then left with a chest injury, so he's questionable for next week.
You're going to need it because the Eagles are. Listen, you're not going to get after Jalen Hurts the way you got after Sam Darnold. It ain't going to happen against that offensive line.
It's going to be tough, and that sets up a huge matchup on Sunday, January 19th, 3 p.m. game. That'll be the early game, and current weather has it as about 33 degrees, partly cloudy. I did see a chance of snow when I was texting our great program director, Nick Wise, last night. I don't know if that's still in the forecast, but either way, it's going to be tough to play in Philly. The current spread on that game is Philadelphia favored by 6, opening up at.
When they played.
Also very difficult to pin your ears back and go after the quarterback when there's a guy like Saquon Barkley in the backfield. So it's very easy. I'm not saying it's very easy to do it against a team like Minnesota, but it's one thing against a team like Minnesota, but you put too much pressure on a team like Philadelphia, and they're just going to run a couple screen plays to Saquon, and you're going to watch him go 60, 70, 80 yards on plays because he's a lunatic.
And you got to remember, too, the Eagles have already taken care of business against the Rams this year, and that was in L.A.
Not a pretty one.
And that was not a pretty one, and that was in L.A. So now you're going, if you're the Rams, into a tough environment in Philadelphia, tough weather environment, tough crowd. And I don't think it's going to look good for them. Very
motivated players, too. Wait until you hear about A.J. Brown later in the show and what he did. Very interesting.
Receivers are just weird, man. Something about them.
Yeah, very motivated. And I'll tell you who's got to be very motivated at this point. You all talked about it in the first segment, and you're talking about Deion Sanders and the Cowboys situation and Mike McCarthy and all that. Well, last night before the game, Troy Aikman had this to say about the Cowboys job, and he certainly did not mince words.
It suggests that there's not a real plan. I mean, in the fact that they haven't had the opportunity to maybe interview a Ben Johnson and some of these others, Aaron Glenn. I think that what Schefter said as far as Kellen Moore being a candidate, that seems logical to me. A guy who has familiarity with the building. He's worked obviously with the Cowboys and with Jerry Jones, and they know each other very well. In fact, when Mike McCarthy got the job, it was told to Mike that Kellen Moore would be the offensive coordinator. So that's how much the Jones family thinks of him. Beyond that, it's hard to imagine. As far as a coveted job, I don't know that that's accurate. I mean, really? I do think the Cowboys are obviously a high-profile team. Whoever is covered or whoever is head coach of that team is certainly going to draw a lot of attention. But I think most football people that take over as a head coach, they want to do it on their terms.
What's the equivalent here? I mean Troy Aikman blasting the Cowboys, a team that we all know the Hall of Fame career he had, Super Bowl
Was
career.
that blasting them, or was that being honest and objective?
Brutally honest blast. A brutally honest blast.
All right. I didn't take it as a blast. I really didn't. I thought he was being completely honest and objective. And the truth is, anybody understands that if you're going to go take that job, that you're going to have to deal with the fact that the owner is also the general manager, is also a social media or media superstar going on TV every week and after every game. And like, it's a different situation than in most NFL places. And you're not going to have the exact input that you might on the roster, which is why I think the whole Dion thing is a little interesting, Aaron, because like, I feel like Dion would have Jerry's ear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if anybody could like have like the swag that Jerry Jones would respect in like a weird way, where he'd just be like, okay, I believe that every time Dion told him something they should do with the roster, it'd be Dion.
He's like, Jerry, I'll tell these guys, no puffs. It's the last puff they'll ever take. It's exactly what he told his college students. It's the last puff you'll ever
He
take.
ain't telling on NFL players that.
Troy Aikman saying this about the Cowboys, is that the equivalent of Tom Brady saying that about the Patriots right now?
I suppose. Yeah, even the Patriots or the Bucs, right? Like if you're a person who played at that level for any franchise, and then you have listen, when he made comments about Baker Mayfield and vice versa earlier this season, it became major news, and it was a big discussion about what those two were saying.
Yeah, but Baker was the successor to Tom.
Okay,
so I think it's the line. It's too close, and maybe it's too close as far as like Troy's been retired for a very long time.
Criticized Jason Light and the front office that it would be
once
pretty
again,
major news.
It's too close to the end of his career, like his career and his time with the Bucs. He hasn't been with the Patriots in a long time. He obviously.
So the separation of time is the difference with Troy
absolutely.
Aikman. Okay,
yeah, I think it is. That's that.
I'm trying to think of now another one that
maybe
would,
like Steve Young and the
Terry
49ers. Bradshaw and the Steelers would be a good one.
That's a stretch of time right there.
That's a stretch of time. Steve Young and the 49ers.
I feel like Terry Bradshaw says something about the Steelers. Everyone's like, all right, Terry.
Manning and the Colts. Peyton and the Colts.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's probably about the same. That's a similar time gap. That's a good one.
Little after, obviously, Troy. But
so Peyton in Denver,
didn't spend enough time there either. Like, who cares? Nah, that's it's not going to. And you know what?
Everyone cares. If Peyton speaks, people care.
It might be the same thing about Tom in a few years with the Bucs. Like that, he won a Super Bowl with the Bucs, and he changed everything here. The difference, Denver had Elway. Like we had never seen anything like Tom. Denver had seen somewhat of a Peyton in Elway. So I think people look back and they're like, yeah, we won a Super Bowl, but nobody looks at Peyton Manning as the Denver Broncos quarterback. They look at him as the Indianapolis Colts quarterback. It goes back to what we were saying about Tom. Like, is there a chance people could look at him as a Bucs quarterback? Now, we will, but nobody else will.
Wow. Do you remember a time when you were the one making the argument that people might remember him more as a Buccaneer quarterback?
He had an opportunity. If you win, if you rally off 3 or 4 with the Bucs, which like you had the roster to do it, you just didn't, kind of gave up a little bit. Tom Brady did.
Well, I don't think they had. I think if they had the roster to do it in his final year, then he wouldn't have been playing the way he was.
He had coaching turnover. It was not
the offensive line. He didn't trust the offensive line, and he wasn't going to get killed for those guys.
For sure, no doubt.
All right, that's today's top headlines. Again, brought to you by Casey Warner's very, very celebratory dome this morning. When we return, is Levante David going to come back for the Buccaneers? It's a big part of the discussion. I saw an article by John Romano in the Tampa Bay Times about just that. Levante was one of the guys who spoke yesterday. Todd Bowles spoke to the media, as did Graham Barton and some other guys, including Kate Otten. But Levante David spoke to the media, and he was asked about whether or not this could be his last time in the locker room. We'll let you hear what he had to say about that and a lot more when we come back on the other side. But he won't be worried about his financial future, Aaron Jacobson. But the rest of us, maybe we should.
Yeah, maybe. Well, definitely. And when we're talking about your financial future, we're talking about your retirement planning, but also wealth management. It's a great idea right now to reach out to Trajan Wealth, as they're going to help you reach your investment goals. And what they do is they tailor the goals to your specific needs. So a lot of things are changing here. We're into the new year. So it's time to start thinking about your future and what's going to be happening here moving forward in your life. And listen, you've been working hard. You've been trying to get towards that retirement. You got to make sure that you enjoy your retirement when it gets here. So you need to find out how long is your money going to last when you retire. Will you have enough? Trajan Wealth, they're going to help you answer those questions. And it starts with that free initial consultation today. That phone call, 813-550-1000. It's easy to make, 813-550-1000. Or you can check them out online, TrajanWealth.com. This is a family-owned and veteran-led business by Jeff Jr., who's been doing it for over 2 decades. The good people at Trajan Wealth, they're the type of people you would want to work with, and they're going to help you develop a plan that's going to give you peace of mind. So once again, reach out to them, 813-550-1000, TrajanWealth.com. Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor, paid advertisement.
Levante David on his future.
Is live on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
That's right. We're live everywhere. Everywhere you want to listen. YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, X. No, we're not on Twitch anymore. That's a lie. I lied to you, and I apologize. Pat and Aaron Show, 95.3 WDAE. Like and subscribe on YouTube, though. We are there. Is Lavonte David going to be here next year? That is the question. I would be surprised, Aaron. I don't know how you feel. I would be surprised if Lavonte David would consider playing anywhere else. We've got a couple of comments we're going to play for him in a minute, and I think one of them kind of suggests just that. But if he's done, he's had an unbelievable career, and I think there's definitely some question about whether or not he'll be back next year.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that we've seen enough. I've seen enough from Lavonte. Has he slowed down? No question about it. Does he have enough to still contribute at a high level? I absolutely think so.
He had, pretty good numbers this year. Certainly wasn't the same player in coverage, and I think he knows that. And that was part of, I think, why he's unsure, and a lot of people are unsure. And I think you can hear that in his answers. But he was, and I mentioned before the break that he spoke to the media yesterday, one of the people that was there for the final time that the media will speak to the Buccaneers for some time now. I think it'll be like outside of Jason Light before the draft. The next time we're really talking to people in that building is like after the draft, when the rookie camps and the mini camps and all that stuff start up again. But for a while, this is it. And Lavonte was one of the people there speaking yesterday, and he was asked if potentially it could be his last time in that locker room.
I haven't thought about that. I haven't even thought about that. I mean, got a lot of memories in the locker room, so I'll never forget it. But as far as like, me getting that exact last time in it, I haven't really gave any thought on it.
You believe him?
Probably not.
Me neither.
Probably not.
And
I'm sure
that's an okay lie. That's not a Dion lie. That's an acceptable lie.
It doesn't mean that he's thought about it since Sunday. It's potentially he was just thinking more about the game and then getting back to the locker room. It is such a routine. He's been doing this for years and years and years and years and years. It may not have been top of his mind. But during the year, I think there's times where he had to have thought about it at some point, looking around the room and how young it is. We all know how that is as we get older and we look around and we're like, oh my God, I'm the old man in the room. Lavonte probably had that moment now that Tom's gone a couple times this year. And I'm sure that it crossed his mind, but what a weird job too. Like there's no other job where you go to work, it's late in your career, and somebody's like, hey man, have you thought about if this is it? This is how you going? Like maybe people will ask you, are you going to retire or something? But like the immediate finality of something like Sunday, it just doesn't happen in regular life.
Yeah, it's part of the business of sports.
Yeah.
I wonder what, I can't help but feel, and obviously everyone has their own individual thoughts and about their future. Lavonte David, Chris Godwin, I'm sure, is wondering, and he's probably been wondering what's with the rehab, what's it going to look like, and is he going to come back? Would he get offers? Would he entertain offers elsewhere? But nobody, and those are individuals thinking about their own future. Nobody has more on their mind today in the Buccaneers organization than Jason Light. Because you're not just talking about players that you have to talk about retaining and looking elsewhere, but now in this unusual, what is going to be an unusual offseason, an uncomfortable offseason for Jason Light, you could potentially lose Liam Cohen and have to search for an offensive coordinator. You could potentially lose Mike Greenberg. You could potentially lose John Spytek.
Yep.
So you might be losing your right-hand men. You might be losing some big key pieces to this team, and you might be losing your offensive coordinator who's a budding star.
I would argue that it might be more of a busy and it might be more work this offseason if that were the case.
That's
but also
uncomfortable for me.
Well, I don't think always it is uncomfortable. I think sometimes those things are exciting, right? Because listen, nobody wants John Spytek to leave. Nobody wants Mike Greenberg to leave. I think he would prefer to re-sign Chris Godwin and Liam Cohen stick around and all these things that the continuity would maintain, right? But when you're in a business like the NFL, I imagine that Jason Light, for instance, knows some young executives in the league Remember, this isn't a guy who just started here in Tampa Bay. He's got his fingers and connections all over the place, right? Including in New England and Arizona. Jason, I imagine, knows some people that he would love to give that opportunity to if it were to open up when it comes to, maybe not as much I'm sure it is offensive coordinator, but as well as those guys like Spytek and Greenberg, like in those executive roles. I imagine that there are guys who'd be excited to give those opportunities to. So uncomfortable maybe, but also I think at times exciting when you have those opportunities to give other people a shot, right? We see that here. It's not always because of good things. Sometimes it's like, well, you didn't want somebody to leave or you don't want something, but at the end of the day,
outwardly
the
you're
next
excited,
guy gets a shot.
But if you had, this is me, all right, and everyone might be different. But if I know, I'm of course going to tell the world I'm psyched. But inward, I would be like, oh my gosh, my job just got infinitely more difficult. My life just got so much harder because this person had to take this awesome opportunity. By the way,
but
John,
it doesn't have to be harder. You're going to get the help.
Yeah, but still, it's what Mike Greenberg was able to do with the cap.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these guys were brilliant. I mean, Spytek and his ties to Brady and that whole plan.
By the way, they're not gone yet.
Spytek, I was just about to say, Spytek is going in for a second round of interviews for the Titans job. Mike Greenberg up for the Jets GM job, which would be interesting for Mike Greenberg of ESPN, who's a Jets fan. Mike Greenberg.
Did you see who put it out? Somebody put out a post and was like, Mike Greenberg up for the Jets job, not that Mike Greenberg, but here's how it would look either way. And they put together a picture of Mike Greenberg like on the front of the post, and then they put together another picture exactly the same, but they photoshopped ESPN Mike Greenberg's face over our Mike Greenberg's face and put that on the cover of the post.
That's funny.
Side by side, both Mike Greenberg's on the post looking exactly the same. Hilarious.
That's funny. I didn't see that. I saw the Jets tweeted out, we have completed an interview with Mike Greenberg for our general manager position. And then ESPN's Mike Greenberg quote tweeted it and said, this is my new favorite post in the history of social media.
That is really funny. All right, back to Lavonte David for a second before we hit the break, because we were talking about will he come back? And he talked about he didn't really, and again, we didn't necessarily believe him 100%, but he said he hadn't really thought about if that would be his last time in the locker room yesterday. But here's what he had to say about whether or not he still has something to contribute, in his opinion.
I just feel like, I can still, impact the game, be more consistent in that area. But I do still love the game of football. That's the main thing. I've been playing the game since I was 6 years old. I never missed a year. And I think the love of football will always be there with me. But, from now on, I'm just going ahead and just, kind of like just unwind and relax and then just see what happens.
All right. When he says, Aaron, unwind and relax, that's what they do in the offseason. And then he said, and then just see what happens. When I hear that, in my opinion, he means see what happens between me and the Buccaneers. And I think he knows that, again, it's getting close. If it's not this year, it's coming very soon. And I think he knows that the organization is probably feeling the same. And I think when he says wait and see what happens, it's not because he might go anywhere else. I don't think, for me, I'd be very surprised if he did go anywhere else. I think it's about see if it makes sense to come back here, and if not, if it makes more sense to retire.
And it should make sense to come back here. And that's where it's going to be on Jason Light to bring in the right pieces to make sure it's not all on Lavonte David, right? Because that's how it felt this year at the linebacker position.
Well, yeah, once Servassier Dennis went down because he was fantastic. So you're going to need depth there without question.
There was no depth. They could not. They were slow. They were slow in coverage. It was bad. It was hard to watch for the majority of the season.
You can usually get pretty solid inside linebacker prospects into the draft because of those key positions that everybody's loading up on early, like left tackle, like cornerback. Wide receiver, the key positions in this league go early, it seems like, and usually get inside line, unless they're elite, usually get inside linebackers and decent ones in rounds 2, 3, 4. I wouldn't be surprised if they were to draft somebody that would maybe be the plan to end up replacing Lavonte David, but have them work almost in tandem this season. And I think Lavonte David in smaller spurts might make him more effective because of his age. And boy, what a mentor if you are bringing in a young linebacker to take his place, to be able to play alongside Lavonte David, even if it's not literally alongside because you're going to start Servassier Dennis when he's healthy, just to be able to play with Lavonte David, learn from Lavonte David. I think it would make a ton of sense.
And if there's anyone who you know is going to completely embrace that opportunity to mentor somebody younger and taking over next, it would be Lavonte David.
All right, a lot of us, when it comes to the playoffs, when the Rays get eliminated, when the Lightning get eliminated, we might check out a little bit. But I think most of us stay pretty invested when it comes to the NFL playoffs, even after our Buccaneers have been eliminated. So the question is, who will you be rooting for moving forward now that the Bucs have been eliminated, or is it basically the Lightning and screw with the NFL? We'll
AM 620.
Thought Aaron and I had a pretty good relationship. He's over here lying to me during the commercial break.
No cap.
Oh, jeez.
What?
You kids.
So the kids are saying I'm trying to be cool in 2025.
We're both wearing caps right now.
I told you
So
it's going to get nice out today. All right, I kind of lied to you.
Yeah,
dude, it's going to
man.
be really nice. During three.
I got a high of 65 on my phone.
65 and sunny. It's going to be amazing.
That's going to be all right.
All right.
Give me 75, all right?
No, 75.
I'm old.
Way too hot.
Listen, I'm full-blown Floridian now. God forbid I lose any weight, and I'm really going to be cold.
Last night I was at Bella's with Jack Harris, the great Jack Harris.
I love Jack. How is Jack?
He's great. Jack's doing great. Thank you. He is. We were having this conversation. This is what Jack and I talk about, the weather. We were trying to decipher last night the perfect Florida temperature.
Yeah.
And I landed on 67 and sunny.
He's with me, isn't he? He wants a little warmer, doesn't he?
Jack, no, he landed on like 70, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, he landed on 70 because once you get to 75 and sunny, we're talking heat.
I like 75.
We got heat going on.
Maybe
like
72, 73.
I'm like a 78 to 80 guy.
Whoa. What, are you trying to sweat?
I'm trying to be at the beach and get a tan. And
You go to the beach a
Why
lot?
are you surprised? The kid
Sunbask,
wears
you
a
know?
toboggan inside when it's below 70 outside.
I think
it's
it's a
weird.
look.
It just depends on the situation. Because like I was golfing Sunday and it was like 55 to 60 degrees, and I was in shorts and a t-shirt.
Casey,
The sun was out.
He's
You
got
know?
the golf itch.
Yeah.
Did you catch what you just said? Is the toboggan a look, or is it because you're cold?
It's
That's
it's
the answer right there.
It's kind of circumstantial. Like I kind of need a haircut right now. I'm like in between. Like I don't know if I'm growing it out or keeping it short.
Other
so,
people
like,
would wear a hat to hide the hair. You chose toboggan. I think you like the look. I think it looks good on you. You can admit you like the look. I think the hesitation tells
Sometimes.
us you like the
All right.
look. There it is.
Hey, if you're comfortable with it, there's nothing wrong with it. I personally, toboggan, winter hat, whatever you want to call it, inside, I can't do it. Like it's uncomfortable.
burning up, huh?
Can you bet on a future bet for the Bucks to win the conference next year? Is that possible?
You are asking me if something about gambling is a factor or not.
You're right. I'm just
I
going
mean, I
to
just want you to think about that for a split second.
Nah, it won't let me do it.
By the way, the question we asked before the break, who are you rooting for in the playoffs? Are you rooting for anybody in the playoffs now that the Buccaneers are out? 888-546-4620. You can also text your thoughts to the Bartow Ford DAE text line, 82945. Make sure you start your text with DAE so that they arrive in front of us.
Somebody at high school, very annoyed. They said this is from a very annoyed high school teacher on the text line. I said, no cap. I'm trying to be cool like the kids in 2025, which we learned earlier in the year means no lie. This said from the 864. They don't say no cap anymore. They say you boofing nowadays. I don't want to say that.
Never heard that.
I don't ever want to say that. I've known that as something else.
We should probably ask. We should ask Chris Mathis. He'll probably know.
You know what? I kind of want to ask Chris Mathis that. I do.
So it was a little I don't know if it's pronounced the way you said it, Aaron. That word was common when I was in high school.
I bet it was.
I did not mean lying. It did not mean lying when I was in high school.
Yeah, but if you knew that, if that was common for you in high school, you were up to no good.
Hey, if you were doing that in high school, we all wanted to be your friend.
No,
let's be honest.
I think we're thinking of a different thing. I think this word has changed definitions over the years.
Oh yeah,
I don't want to be friends with that. I'll talk during the break.
Yeah, the friends I had, if it's the same word I'm thinking of, we all wanted to be friends with that person.
We can't talk about this on the air, but I think we can talk about this on the YouTube chat. YouTube chat, you can talk. The one I'm thinking of.
Hey, Buccaneer John, who are you rooting for in the playoffs now that the Buccaneers have been eliminated?
This would be good.
The big bad Detroit Lions, and knock out those dang skins and put them in a body bag.
They're not called that anymore. You can't say that. They're not called. They're the Commanders now.
I say whatever I want to say.
No, you can't.
I love you, Buccaneer John.
You can't say the Lions are going to rip those
Don't get me
skins.
started, man.
That's
Don't
horribly
get me started,
racist.
Aaron. I'm going to raise... I'd like to get you on a football field.
Oh, I just broke him.
You going to raise what?
He combusted.
What are you going to raise?
I said I like to get him on a football field.
All right, I'm gonna be honest with you.
I would too.
I'm a little bit like Buccaneer John. I'm a lot like Buccaneer John in a lot of ways. Actually, I'm surprised Buccaneer John hasn't called me for a while. I think he's mad that we didn't see him in
Did you
Washington.
just hear him though?
Yeah,
he's like, I want to take you on a football field.
He does. He wants to
Imagine
tackle
me.
you.
That's the video that we all need. Is
Yeah, it
me
is.
1v1 against Buccaneer John. Who's in coverage? Is he in coverage on me or am I in coverage on him?
Yes.
We'll just go. We'll change.
All
We'll
of
exchange.
it.
Yeah.
All of it.
Now-
I'll be automatic quarterback. Remember
What if
automatic quarterback?
Yeah. What if he gets me? I'm going to blame it on you. If he picks you off, it's your fault.
888-546-4620 or text your thoughts to the Bartow Ford DA text line 82945. Message and data rates may apply. Detroit Lions, Buffalo Bills from one person. One person says football doesn't exist anymore. On to hockey. Also, Bills, no fan base deserves it more. I'll tell you this. I would love to see Detroit win it. I'm on that bandwagon. If you're welcome, Nick Wise, if you're listening. My in-laws, I've got in-laws in Detroit. My father-in-law, I've told you, is taking me to the Super Bowl in Detroit. He's still got the brother that we went with lives up there. Like, those people have been waiting for the Lions to be successful forever. I would be really happy for Detroit if they went on to win the Super Bowl at this point.
I wonder how many people are like me. When my team is out, I am rooting for whichever team's going to make me the most money.
I mean, yes, gambling degenerates are all in the same boat.
But I wonder
We're
how
talking
many
about
the
just
percentage.
But we're talking about who you're rooting for just from like a rooting interest. You can say, hey, I'd love to see Kansas City win. You can say, I'd love to see Washington win. Doesn't mean that you have to bet that way. You can still want your bets to win, but have it like in your heart, here's a franchise I'd love to see win that I'm kind of pulling for.
I guess Detroit would be in that category.
Guys, my Super Bowl pick is still alive.
I forgot now.
Two
Houston.
rounds in.
Rams and Houston.
Rams and still alive in the divisional round.
Well,
amazing, right?
It
wasn't so crazy.
I think
Hey, Casey, enjoy your week.
I don't. Yeah, true. I think that's true. But I think Houston can hang around with Kansas. I'm not sold on Kansas City.
Yeah, sure.
8-point spreads with Kansas City are just no bueno.
And the Rams can hang around with Philly too.
Will people be mad at me if I said there's something? And it's a little too close. I'm still mad at them, but I love Jaden Daniels. It sucked what we saw Sunday night. Like, it sucks to be beat by that. But how could you not root for that kid?
I can't root for that franchise, period.
Post Snyder.
I don't care. I can't root for Washington.
I don't hate him.
I grew up a Giants fan.
Yeah, I
can't root for that franchise.
I don't hate him. Like, I hate Philly. I know you hate Philly too.
Yeah, I love Jaden Daniels. I do. Doesn't mean I want to see that franchise win anything. Let's get to the phones really quickly. Steve in Tampa before the break. Steve, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, Aaron, I'd be careful because Buccaneer John's going to get you out there and just want to do old school Oklahomas, man. You're probably not ready for that.
That won't go well for him.
I think all three of us should do Bull in the Ring. Me, Aaron, and Buccaneer John. What do you think?
That'd be entertaining as heck, man.
You have no back.
Oh, I'll do Bull in the Ring.
Your back is gone.
I can hit.
It's obliterated.
I can hit.
I don't want to be charged with you and Buccaneer John with elderly abuse.
That was messed up. That hurt me. I might cry on camera again this morning after you called me elderly. Steve, who are you rooting for?
I'm actually rooting for everybody except the Commanders. Because Mahomes get another one would be great. Just adds to his legacy. And I want to see Lamar get one. I want to see the Bills get one. I actually grew up being a Bills fan in when they had the K-gun offense. But
you got a heck of a playoffs ahead of you if you've got 3 teams you want to win.
Yeah. I have. Well, even in the NFC, I wouldn't mind seeing the Lions win. Like, once the Bucs got out, I just want to see great games and good, entertaining football for the rest of the way.
Steve, you don't sound old enough to remember the K-gun. How old are you, dude?
Oh yeah, I'm 44, bud. That was my first test of faith was the Bills being down 35-3. My parents told me I can't watch the game, and I went and found a radio to turn it on because I knew the Bills were coming back, man. And that gave me some good faith since then. But anyways, you have a great morning.
Thanks, man, you too, Steve. I feel like he was offended that I said he sounds young.
No, it's a good thing. It's a compliment.
Oh, yeah, I wish I sounded young.
Yeah, there's there's some storylines. There's no team aside from Philly that I hate. Like, I don't even hate Kansas City. I should, but I don't.
They're not that hateable for a team that's as good as they are, and I think it's because Bundleruski. How do you not like Bundleruski? What?
He said it's awful.
It's awful.
Shame on you. How do you not like Andy Reid?
It was funny at first, but like, man.
Bundleruski. Now that I know you hate it, Casey. Listen, here's what you don't know about Casey Warner. He loves to drive me crazy. He does things intentionally that he knows irritates me. So now that I know that, Bundleruski. We're gonna Bundleruski in the 7 o'clock hour. How close are the Bucs to Super Bowl contenders, and can they be with Todd Bowles at the helm? We're gonna get into that on the top.